Always good to have some good Torah riddles on hand. So here are some good Torah riddles that you will enjoy, your family will enjoy. And I'm going to say the riddle, then the answer, and you can find a link to the source of all riddles in the video description. So riddle number one. Where is it in Tfilat Shmona Esrei that you have two sets of grandfather and grandchild? Two sets in Tfilat Shmona Esrei. It's tricky. So the first answer is obvious. You say in the first bracha, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. There you have Avram and Yaakov. The next one is though in Atachonen. Can you think about where in Atachonen? You say Atachonen la'adam dat umlomed le'enosh bina. Adam Arishon had a grandson named Enosh, so you have another set of a grandfather and a grandchild. Next question is, how is it possible to have two foods? One is absolutely kosher, one is not kosher, and you bring the same sizes, you bring them together, the kosher food becomes not kosher, and the not kosher food becomes kosher. How's that possible? And there are many answers, but if you're talking about the same measurements, the only answer I know of is if you have a piece of kosher meat that was shechted kosher meat, but it wasn't cleaned from its blood, so you're not allowed to eat it because the blood is very not kosher. And how do you make it kosher? With salt. Salt is kosher. So if you take the salt, which is kosher, and you put it on the non-kosher meat because it's not kosher because it has blood, the salt becomes not kosher because it absorbs all the blood, and the meat becomes kosher because it's been cleansed. So that is your second riddle. Next riddle is, what 4 or more blessings, brachot, do you say only one time a year? What 4 brachot do you say only one time a year? So let's list them off. So first is Birkat Ilanot, the blessing on the blooming trees that you say in the month of Nisan. You can only say that once a year. The next is the bracha of Nachem, where you say Nachem on Tisha B'Av only once a year. The next is the bracha of al bi'ur chametz, which you make on Erev Pesach at night, and there's no bracha said the next morning. Then you have also when you light the nerot Yom Kippur, the Yom Kippur candles, usually the women light it, then ladlik ner shel Yom Kippur, that is another bracha that you make once a year. And if you want to get clever, you can also say that if Rosh Hashanah has one of its days on Shabbat, then you have a situation where you're going to make al tkiyat lishma kol shofar, the bracha on the shofar, you're going to make it only once a year. That is another answer. Next riddle is, whose name, well, it's not who, there's a name in the book of Bereshit mentioned 4 times for 4 different people. Who are those people, all with the same name across the book of Bereshit? Hint, it's not a name you may even recognize. The answer is Chanoch. There are 4 Chanochs in the book of Bereshit, all the way from the beginning till in Parashat Bereshit till later when Bnei Israel come to Egypt in Parashat, I believe, Miketz. And so, or is it Vayechi? So there you have 4 different names of the same person, all in the same book. I'm sorry, it's not the same person. It's Chanoch, but it's 4 different Chanochs. The next question is, where do you have 6 Alephs consecutively? So you have 6 words with the letter Aleph that start 6 words that start with the letter Aleph, one after the other. And the answer is, some people think it's in Vayosha, but there it's only 5. There you have Amar Oyev Erdof Asig Achalek Shalal Timlaimo Nafshi, etc. That's 5. But actually, in the book of Bereshit, when the brothers are speaking of Yosef, when they realize that they got into trouble and that they're in deep, deep trouble, they tell each other, Aval Ashemim Anachnu Asher Aval Vayamru Ish El Achiv Aval Ashemim Anachnu. So that is 6 words starting with an Aleph where they all accept guilt. That is 6 Alephs consecutively in the book of Bereshit. I believe the most there are in Tanakh. The next question is, what is the longest word in the Tanakh? Longest spelling in Tanakh, and the answer is in the book of Esther, Achashdar Panim. The Achashdar Panim are the people mentioned in the book of Esther, and that is the longest one mentioned in the entire in the entire Tanakh. It's the longest spelled word. Achashдар Panim. I believe it's 9 letters. Next question is, where is the word kasher, kosher, mentioned in Tanakh, if at all? Where is the word kasher mentioned? And some people say, oh, it's in Vayikra, it's in Shmini. The answer is, it is not in Chumash Bereshit, not in Chumash Shmot, not in Chumash Vayikra, not in Bamidbar, not in Dvarim, not in Nevi'im Rishonim, not in Nevi'im Achronim. The answer is, it's in the book of Esther. When she speaks to the king, she says, the kasher hadavar b'nei hamelech. If it is appropriate in the eyes of the king, Esther tells the king, if this is appropriate in your eyes, and that is the only place in the Tanakh where the word kasher appears. That is another question. One more last question is, who am I? I am not old enough to be parv. I am not old enough to be parv, and the answer is, generally speaking, anything that comes out of an animal, it takes its character. So, for example, well, meat and milk is not a good example, but anything that's part of an animal takes after it. So if you eat a piece of a cow, it's fleishik, it's meat. However, egg from a chicken is considered parv, even though the chicken may not be, the egg is parv. Now, however, that's only if the egg is fully developed. But if the egg is too little, then it's considered to be fleishik because it's part of the chicken. The next question is, how is it possible to have a meat that is parv? Now, I'm not talking about Impossible Burger. I'm not talking about any of the vegan kinds of meats. I'm talking about meat. How is it possible for it to be parv, aka not to require... well, I shouldn't say parv, sorry. How is it possible for kosher meat to not require shchita? And the answer is, it's something called a ben pku'ah. If a cow is shechted and its calf is found inside it, the calf turns out to be alive, the calf does not need shchita since the mother was shechted, and even that calf's children forever and ever will never ever require shchita. That is the halacha called a ben peku'ah. There is another riddle for you, and one more last riddle is, what is forbidden to do on Yom Tov that is permitted to do on Shabbat? What is forbidden to do on Yom Tov that is permitted to do on Shabbat? And one more riddle besides for that is, what mitzvah can you only fulfill on Wednesdays and Thursdays? Those are two questions I will not say the answer to, and those are the riddles I'll leave off. More riddle videos to come. Thank you so much for listening.